Good morning, good morning, good morning. You're live with TST Radio. I'm your host, Marcus Johnson. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to go and get into the show. This weekend, we had Alabama versus LSU. What a great game. The final score to that was 10-0. First of all, you're going to have to excuse me. I'm a little under the weather. My allergies are messing with me. So if you hear me sniffling or anything like that, that is why. But to get back in it, Alabama versus LSU. Alabama proved they had the best defense. Every team get hyped up to play the number one team in the country because you have the potential of creating an upset, being the hot topic. And they had the chance of staying on top and winning the West, going to the SEC championship game. Everybody gets up for Alabama, so I knew this game was going to be one of those low-scoring games just like every year. Both defenses come out with their best. They watch film. They know the plays. As you can see, Jamal Adams, he knew Alabama plays. He knew where the ball was going before it came out of Jalen Hurts' hands. When he got the pick on the first drive, he knew where that ball was going. When he was jumping those screen passes, it was no second guessing. He went straight at it, But Alabama's defense, they held Etland 11-14, 92 yards, 1 interception. Fournette, once again, one of the worst games of his career. 17 carries, 35 yards. The secondary for Alabama only gave up one big play. They only gave up one big play. That was the 45-yard, I think it was, down the field on Humphrey. So I'll take that over a 5, 6, or 7. I thought I would see more passes downfield from Etland to challenge Alabama's DBs. I thought that was the only chance they had of scoring was to throw the ball down the field. I knew they wasn't going to be able to run the ball at all. I think their longest rushing yard was maybe 25 yards. I think it was. It wasn't much they could do against this Alabama defense. But like I said, LSU defense, stood up. They did their thing. They came out. They played ball. Beckwith, 16 total tackles, 5 solos. Neal had 11 tackles. Thomas had 9 tackles. Adams with the interception. I think he had 6 tackles. Key with the fumble recovery. Hurts, he had a pretty good game. He wasn't throwing the ball too well. Like I said, he turned the ball over twice. Hurts went 10 for 19, 107 yards. 20 carries, 114 yards, 1 touchdown. The running backs was pretty much contained for Alabama. Harris, 12 carries, 53 yards. Jacobs, 5 carries, -3 yards. Scarborough, 11 carries, 52 yards. That last drive, Scarborough, he hit some big runs for about 15 yards. He helped ice the game and get us in that position for Hurts to get that run, that 21-yard run for the touchdown. So it was a great game, It was great. A lot of people said it was boring, but that game was great. Foster led Alabama's defense with 11 tackles. Bama won every matchup on paper. Every number possible on paper. They won except turnovers. They turned it over twice, and that's something Jalen Hurts got to work on, not to turn the ball over as much. Going to the Mississippi State game, Mississippi State came off a great win over Texas A&M. So I know they're going to be hyped, so Alabama going to come out and do the same thing, play ball, but I don't think Mississippi State can stand up against that type of defensive game for 4 quarters. LSU couldn't do it. So I don't think they'll be able to stand up to that for 4 quarters. I know Alabama, I know they're going to be a little banged up after this. But moving on, Mississippi State versus Texas A&M. Fitzgerald came out hot. He came out hot. The final score of that was 35-28. But the score really don't tell the game. Like I said, Fitzgerald came out hot with a 74-yard run for a TD. In the second quarter, he hit Fred Ross for a 60-yard touchdown. Fourth quarter, That guy Christian Kirk. He came out with a 93-yard punt return, then jumped back to the 54-yard pass, took it to the house. Texas A&M started to heat up late, but it wasn't enough time on the clock. After the quarterback went out and the backup had to come in and play most of the game. I think he threw for 222 yards. I can't think of his name. He threw for 222 yards, I know. So he came out, he put up some pretty good numbers to try to keep him in after Trevor Knight went down. They really didn't have a running game, really, this game. Trevor Knight, even though he got injured, he still led the team in rushing with only 53-yard rushing. They didn't have any rushing yards, and Christian Kirk tried to accommodate those yards with special teams, but it just wasn't enough to come back. They ran out of time, and that goes to show you can't start off slow like that against an SEC team, because you never know when that team is going to put it together and come out and play that caliber ball. Fitzgerald played lights out. Fitzgerald played a great game, and he hurt Texas A&M in many ways in this game, and Texas A&M wasn't able to come back. Moving on, at Auburn versus Vanderbilt. That game, Sean White, to me, proved that this is his team. He proved to me that all the doubters who were saying, put John Franklin in, put Woody Barrett in, it's over now. That talk should be over. Should nobody be saying put nobody else in? Sean White proved. It's kind of like it was planned for him to get that little ding and let people sit back and watch and let people see that no one can run this offense like he does. He might not be the most athletic. He might not be, he's not the fastest. He's not the most athletic. But this is his team. This team runs like a machine with the guy in the game. First half, they struggled. Auburn struggled. Their first drive, it was a decent drive. They went down. Kerryon Johnson got the touchdown. John Franklin III, he really proved that he's not ready to start. And I think they should keep Sean White at quarterback and put John Franklin more as a wildcat guy. Put him in a position to where he can do anything. Let him be that guy that plays every position. They recruit him as an athlete. I think they should go back to him as an athlete because he proved he can't throw the ball, but he can run the read option. Use him as a role player. Put the guy in and let him play different positions at slot receiver. I'm pretty sure he can catch the football. Let him run the jet sweeps, some screen plays, some drag routes, getting the ball real fast. Petway. He's still doing Petway. Petway came out, 20 carries, 173 yards. Got injured late in the fourth. Gus did confirm that he pulled something. He didn't say what, but I watched the game review and Auburn and Vandy review, and he did confirm that he did pull something on that long run. Gus thinks that this Vandy game was the signature win for his championship season. He stated that every season you have that game where you have to fight back in the championship season. So he's confirming this game as the signature win for a championship season. He thinks this team can push on and beat Bama and get in the playoffs and win the championship. In other sports, UFC, mixed martial art combat sports, UFC 205 is Saturday. This is a great card. Like I said previously, we have McGregor versus Alvarez, Woodley versus Thompson, Weidman versus Romeo. We have some great fights on that card. I think Rashard Evans is on that card. There's no thinking. Rashard Evans is on that card. Misha Tate is on that card. If you're a UFC fan, you might want to check that out Saturday. It will be on pay-per-view. The prelims is on Fox Sports 1. That is 150 with Dish. I don't know what it is on anything else. I know we have Dish here, so it's 150 on Dish, Fox Sports 1. You can find the prelims there, and the main card will be on pay-per-view. It's normally $49.99 for standard definition. So check that out if you're fan. NFL news: Dak Prescott this weekend. They went out and slaughtered the Browns. They killed the Browns. I think it was 35-10. Shout out to Dak Prescott. He surpassed the Cowboys' rookie passing record. Shout out to the Cowboys. Those guys are doing great things. Before we go, I want to remind you to follow us on Twitter at True Sports Talk. Like our Facebook page at True Sports Talk Radio to keep up with all your latest news, all your latest updates, your press conferences, injury reports, everything high school, semi-pro. We will be covering semi-pro football and basketball. So log in, like our page, and we will keep you updated on everything that you will need to know. I know right now I just got the notification that Florida is live right now on a press conference right now as we speak. So soon as we get off air, I'm going to be going over checking them out. So see what they're talking about, see what they got on the agenda. So before we go, I did want to get you to the Alabama high school bracket, let you know how that's going. This will be the second week of high school playoffs. So here we go, second round. McGill-Toolen will be taking on Enterprise. Enterprise knocked out Baker. McGill-Toolen knocked off JD of Montgomery. Next, we have Central versus Auburn. Central knocked out Murphy. Auburn knocked off Davidson. We have Hoover versus James Clemens. Hoover knocked out Bob Jones last week. James Clemens knocked out Spain Park. And last in 7A, we have Hewitt-Trussville versus Gaston City. Hewitt-Trussville knocked off Oak Mountain. Mountain Brook fell to Gaston City. So that is your 7A Week 2 poll quarterfinals, November the 11th. Go out, check those guys out. Let's get into 6A bracket. The 6A bracket first game, we will have Park Crossing versus Bessemer City. Second game, we have Blunt versus McAdory. Third game, we have Hillcrest versus Spanish Fort. Last game, we have Opelika versus Daphne. That is your 6A Week 2 second round of your playoffs, November the 11th. Make sure you gotta check that out. We're going to jump in 4A. Week 2. We have St. James versus Tallahassee. We have Andalusia versus Leeds. We have Bibb County versus Thomasville. We have Hanley versus UMC Wright. Okay, that's 4A. We're going to jump into 5A because we skipped 5A. We're going to jump into 5A right here. We have second round, 5A. We have Carroll versus Calera. We have Viger versus Beauregard. We have Central of Clay County versus St. Paul's. We have Lincoln versus Jackson. That is your 5A. 3A. We're going to jump into your 3A right here. Second round, we have Hillcrest versus Oakman. We have Mobile Christian versus Montevallo. We have Gordo versus Wicksburg. We have Pike County versus Bayside Academy. That is your 3A. We have your 2A right here too. Here we go, 2A. We have Long versus New Broughton. We have Southern Choctaw versus Golson. We have Aliceville versus Leroy. We have Elba versus Washington County. And last but not least, we have your 1A. Second round, November the 11th. We have Georgiana versus Isabella. We have Linden versus Nova Scotia. We have Watley versus Sweetwater. We have Mapleville versus Brentley, and that is your 1A. So that is your Alabama high school playoff brackets, 7A through 1A. So make sure you get out there this Friday and check them out. They will be getting it on. But that is my time for today. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Marcus Johnson. This is TST Radio.